and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are operating tonight with two members in person, Mayor Marino and myself. Mayor Cohn, Commissioners Jackson and Hurd are joining via Zoom. I'll say that was the roll call. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes of June 21, 2022?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Louis beat you. Okay, Lindsay seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Okay, our first item is a presentation and a resolution regarding the auditor's report for fiscal year 2021. We have our auditors here, and we have our controller, Dave Burns. Scott, introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Oling. I'm kind of pinch hitting tonight for my partner, Jeff Shaver, who is out of town this week. And I'm joined tonight by Melissa Zott, who is another one of my partners who was also involved in the audit for the Rye-Town Park. We have a short PowerPoint presentation to present to you regarding the information for the audit for the year that ended December 31st, 21. So, is it on the screen? Oh, there we go. So, the agenda for our brief presentation, I will just give you a brief overview of what is about to come and some of our required communications as your auditors. And then Melissa is going to take you primarily through your general fund, which is your primary operating fund for the park. She will go over the budget and actual results from the 21 fiscal year. Then she'll break that down between what you did on the revenue side of your operations, and then follow that with an explanation of what happened on the expenditure side. And then she will touch briefly on your capital projects fund, and she will go over where you stand, with funds for capital-related items as of December 31st. So on the next slide, we're here tonight to report that obviously our audit field work for this year, for 21, is complete. Management, Dave over here, was involved in reviewing those statements and approving those. The good news for the Rye-Town Park Commission is that we've issued what's known as an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion on the park's finances, meaning that we believe the financial statements fairly present what happened with the park's financial operations during 21. Also happy to report that we did not find any material weaknesses in the internal controls that generate that financial information, and we did not come across or note any instances of fraud during the 21 audit. Management and those charged with governance, which is you folks, are required to select and implement the appropriate accounting policies that the park follows to make sure that the financial statements that we are presenting to you tonight are prepared in accordance with what's known as U.S. GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. You are required to make sure that the Rye-Town Park establishes and maintains effective internal control over financial reporting, because if you don't have the good controls, then the numbers may not be accurate. You're required to comply with any laws, regulations, contractual agreements. You're a recipient sometimes of federal aid for various things, so there are requirements that you follow the rules and regulations related to those funds. You are required to give us any financial records and other information that we require in doing the audit. Otherwise, if you didn't, we would have a scope limitation, but that did not occur. And of course, it's your goal to set the proper tone at the top for how the operations function. So with that brief introduction, I will turn it over to Melissa to actually go through the numbers for 2021.
Thank you. So on this slide, this is going to be your general fund. It's a summary of your budget versus your actual. So before we jump into the numbers, I just want to go over the columns so you guys can be familiar with the slide. The first column is your original budget. That's the budget that was adopted. The second column is your final budget. That would include any budgetary amendments or transfers between lines. Your third is your actual. Those are your actual results as of your fiscal year end 12/31/21. And then the last column is just the difference between your final budget and then your actual results. So the first...
May I just ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, the slide went away and I see only myself.
Oh.
Can you put the slide back up, or
Yeah.
is it my computer
just
that's
one
doing this?
second.
It's the computer. Let me see if I can fix it.
No, I'll reset my view.
How about now? Does that work?
Yeah, now I can speak and also see the slide. Thank you.
Perfect.
So we have the third line, deficiency of revenues over expenditures. And if we look at the variance column on the right, there's 156048. It's not in parens, though it is stated to be a deficiency. Is that positive number actually a surplus and not a deficiency? Is that what's intended?
Correct, yeah, so the ones that are in the parentheses would be the deficiency, and then the 156,000 that's not in parentheses would be the excess of revenues over expenditures. And that's gonna be on a budgetary basis.
Yeah, so in other words, when this budget was adopted for your 21 operations, you expected to essentially, I don't want to say lose 230,000, but you expected that the town and the city would have to contribute $230,000 to keep the park at break even. So the good news was, because revenues came in better than you expected and expenditures came in slightly less than you expected, you only had a shortfall of about 74,000 that had to be made up from the town and the city. So therefore, that's why that's considered a positive variance, that you didn't have to dip into town and city resources as much as you had originally planned.
Understood, thank you.
So your revenues originally budgeted were for 1.2 million. They actually came in at the 1.36 million. So that's a budgetary surplus of approximately 119,000. And we'll go into the revenue details on the next slide to what makes that up. Your total expenditures, you anticipated spending 1.47 million, but you actually only spent the 1.43. So that was your budgetary savings of 36,000. And as Scott mentioned, the deficiency of revenues over expenditures, which is the 74,000, you anticipated needing 230,000 from the sponsors, but you actually only needed the 74,000. So on this slide, it discusses what makes up those budgetary surplus. So this is the same columns as the previous slide. This focuses on your revenues and then your sponsor funding. The first two lines, your sales of permits and your parking. So your permits, you anticipated receiving only 446,000, but you actually took in 512,000. And your parking, you anticipated receiving 172,000, but you actually received 249,000. So it's about 140,000 better than anticipated. And there was a lessening of the COVID restrictions and mandates, which resulted in additional revenues for those. The beach admissions, you anticipated receiving about 380,000, but only 330,000 came in. The beach admissions, as you know, are not collected on the permit holders. They're actually included within the permit fee. So it's almost an inverse relationship to the permits. You would anticipate when the permits go up, assuming the same population, your beach admissions would go down slightly. Your rent concessions came in over budget, about 25,000. There's a licensing agreement based on CPI, and CPI had increased more than anticipated. And then, as Scott mentioned earlier, your other financing sources, which is essentially to fund the remaining monies needed to result in fully funded commission, would be $74,000 instead of the initial anticipated $230,000. On the expenditure side, these are the detailed lists of all the expenditures of the Park Commission. I just want to focus on 3 lines. The second from the top is your employee benefits. You anticipated spending about $111,000, but you actually spent $131,000, so $20,000 more than anticipated. Most of those were between the unemployment insurance and the retirement, and rates have increased. The second line I want to go over is the utilities, telephone, and refuse. It was about $20,000 over budget. Again, most of those were related to Con Ed and increased rates for those. The second to the bottom line is your miscellaneous line. You see that you had a budgetary savings of about $40,000. Within that $127,000, there was a budget of about $60,000, which included amounts for COVID-related purchases. There were limited purchases due, again, to the lessening of the COVID restrictions. So that's going to be your general fund. Moving on to your capital fund. This is the comparative balance sheet. It's year over year. The items that I do want to focus on is going to be your state and federal aid. You can see last year was about $357,000. This year it jumped up to almost $800,000. There was, within this $800,000, $440,000 were from current year activity related to the beach ramps project. You can see that there's a corresponding amount towards the bottom called deferred inflows of resources. That's your unavailable revenues. Part of governmental accounting is there's an availability period, so depending on when the monies come in from FEMA, we essentially have to defer that. So you can see that that's also related to the state and federal aid, but it's also equivalent to your fund deficit. So essentially when those monies come in, that will essentially resolve the deficit for the capital fund. On the revenue and expenditure side, there was state aid this year. We didn't have any last year. That was related to the New York State Environmental Protection Fund. It's a match grant program. And then for the federal aid, last year was the FEMA portions, and this year $116,000 was CDBG funding through Westchester County. Again, once you receive the FEMA money, that federal aid on the balance sheet would end up flowing through this federal aid line. And then as you can see, your sponsor funding, which also funds part of your capital projects, was about $198,000 from the town, $128,000 from the city.
That's all we have, so if anyone has any questions, we would be glad to try to answer them.
Are there any practices of ours, any quirks of our management that didn't rise to the level of mention in the financials or the notes to the financials that you'd care to bring to our attention?
We didn't have any management comments issued for the Town Park Commission, and any recommendations that we found during the audit would be included within there.
Sounds like a good report to me.
Yep. Yes.
Emily? Lindsay, anything from you? Silence, okay.
I just mentioned that we have lately taken to asking our city manager to read the park's financials. Unfortunately, he has been out sick, so who knows, we may come up with a question or two after the fact. But this certainly looks very good today.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Oh, please reach out. Our emails are on this slide. You can reach out. Our phone numbers are on the Harrison office as well. So reach out anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to accept the auditor's report?
Make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I second it, either way.
Either way. Debbie, please call the roll.
Yes, Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Thursday. We have to go through this again for the Rye Town Council. All right. The next item is discussion and resolution regarding an amendment to the concession agreement with the restaurant. As you all know, that in 2019, the commission approved the demarcation of an area for the use of the restaurant to serve alcoholic beverages. And since then, the use has been somewhat expanded to include a deck and sometimes a tent, and the actual area of demarcation has changed, although I am informed that the area that has been used is no greater than that which was approved. The lines are somewhat different. Chris, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, how's everybody today? My name is Chris Sarace. I'm one of the owners and operators over at the Barley Beach House. So I'll take you through, I have 4 slides here along with a couple pictures. I could take you guys through what's going on down on the beach in our concession area, hopefully clear everything up for you guys. What you're seeing.
Before you go on, do the commissioners, either on their computers or on here, have a view of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I can pin the presentation if it would be helpful.
Two? Perfect. So this first slide is what we originally proposed in 2019. With this slide, our original proposal was we were going to have our own kind of private area where we would allow drinking on the beach, and we would monitor it and take care of it. The first season that we fenced in this area, almost immediately we came up with a couple issues with the drawing when we started operating it. One of the main issues, which you're going to see in slide number 2, is that these 2 windows over here, this middle window and this window to the right of it, we use mainly for our concession windows for food orders and pickup. So it didn't make sense to fence in those 2 windows, because if people didn't want to enter into our area, then they kind of had to walk out. So that was one of the biggest changes that we made with the with the original layout. Also with the original layout, which kind of led into the beach deck, is that even with the chairs and everything in the sand, it was just hot, and nobody really wanted to sit in the area because we didn't have enough shade for anybody. So they would come in, have a drink, and then just leave. So it was almost like the space was always empty. So the original space that we proposed was originally 52 by 96 wide. And from these plans, it seems like it makes total sense and would work out fine for us. But with the changes that we made, I'm going to go on to slide number 2 now. Where currently our beach deck sits, as you could see here in the red line. So we're currently 76 wide by 62 out. And then this little area over here where you see it's not touching the building, it's kind of a gated area where people can walk in and out. So you're able to access the concession area, order at this window over here, pick up at the second.
That's not coming. You
Second.
can't see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's the window to your far right would be your order window. The next window in would be your pickup window. And then when you're picking up food, you could walk into our beach deck area through this gated area and sit down and have dinner. So the current space that we're using right now is 76 wide by 62 out.
So that looks like it's, the entire right side is not being used, so it looks like the space is slightly smaller.
It is,
Okay.
correct. We took about 20 feet off on that right side. So this is just an overview of the beach area with the beach deck currently in place and how everything sits right now. So the current space usage is 76 by 62, which is about 4,700 square feet, which is 280 square feet less than what we originally proposed, which was 96 by 52, and that would be 4,922 square feet. So this is how it's currently sitting now, and we can operate like this. Everything works for us in these parameters with people sitting on the beach deck, and we're able to bring some entertainment down there. We've been getting a whole lot of positive feedback. One of the other changes that we made almost immediately too, which I didn't really bring up, was that we originally proposed the spaces as an area for us to have people that were 21 and over, but immediately we just made it a space that was more family friendly, where people can come in, eat and drink. So if you have kids on the beach and they want concession food and drinks, they can order the food and bring it into our beach deck area, and we let them sit on the beach deck and come and go throughout the course of the day. So we're giving everybody on the beach the opportunity to come in and use our space. What I would like to propose for the space is to make the space a little bit larger for a couple reasons. One, with all the approvals that we need to get, from the city of Rye and everything, if we're able to pop a tent up on the beach, I would like to pop up a tent, roughly about 20 by 40 tent, where we could have a shaded area. Again, an area where the general public can come in and put their chairs into the sand and just sit and relax. We do have chairs and loungers in our beach deck area, and we set them up daily. We try to keep those, we try to use those chairs and lounges for people that are 21 and older who kind of want to come down and spend the day in our area. So they come, they eat, they drink, they hang out in our fenced-in beach area, and they don't have to bring their own chairs or umbrellas. So it's really a good thing to have for people that just want to walk onto the beach and hang out for the day. With that being said, part of having the larger space is also because we let anybody in off the beach, families that come in off the beach, or if we have events and we don't have enough chairs on the beach deck or in the sand, we let them bring their own beach chairs and blankets into our beach deck area and sit there and hang out for the day also. So with that being said, besides the general public using some of the space, we found that after the beach deck was put in place, that the back area of the beach deck behind the pavilions is really, it turns out to be unusable space for us, only because we can't have people walking behind everything that we're doing. And then you get a bunch of people they're always sitting up at the restaurant on the patio or by the benches over there looking down. It's just not a place where we would want people to be sitting or hanging out at. So the new proposed space that I would propose is 96 by 80, which would allow us enough clearance to walk around the entire beach deck, add in the shaded area. One problem that we are currently having now, if I could jump back to slide number 3, is that our chairs and loungers, we usually set up our Adirondack chairs on the right side of the beach deck, and then we set up the loungers in front. With the space where it is now, it's still very tight. When you're sitting in a lounge chair and our fence is pretty much right in front of you, your feet could hang out the fence almost. that's not even the main concern. The main concern is it doesn't really leave enough room for people to walk through them or past them or people to get around them. So you're constantly kind of, walking on the fence to get around everybody.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm not sure how it's represented in the drawings that you've shown, but there's a yellow metal fence that extends farther towards the water than your decked area. It actually encloses an area of sand. And I can't tell if that's in your drawing or not, if that's in the box or not.
So if I jump back to slide 2 on this, I'm not sure if you can still see it up there, but the red line on slide number 2 is our current fenced in area. So it's about, I'd say about 12 feet off our deck, 12 or 15 feet off our deck, and it's 62 feet out from the back wall.
I circulated a picture that I took to the commission, and it shows a fence that it appears to be a much greater distance off your deck. And I'm eager to know what that is. Unfortunately, you don't have the picture. I did circulate it to the commission.
Josh,
But
did you see?
It seems to actually take up the greater part of the width of the beach there. It goes a considerable distance towards the water.
Josh, can I interrupt one sec?
Yeah.
From what I'm looking at, there are a couple of pictures aside from the ones that you took. In the agenda packet are 2 pictures, Beach Deck 1 and Beach Deck 2. If you look at Beach Deck Pick 1, I think that's a pretty accurate representation of what's there now. And from what I'm reading of the plans, the current view, and I'm looking at the measurement, he's got 9 current spaces, 76 by 62.
Gary, can you repeat what's 76 by 62?
The current space usage is 76 by 62.
And he wants to make it bigger, 96
Yeah, but-
by 80?
I'm just trying to get the right picture here. Yeah,
Is it
the
possible
one,
to know
with
how-
the,
How wide those yellow fence sections are? Because if you go back to the picture before this one, you can see that there's at least 2 full sections of fence extending beyond the beach deck. Not that one, the actual picture. Which I'm confused because we also have pictures of tents up. So I feel like I'm not clear about what you're.
The tent was up for an event. The tent wasn't ever intended to stay up. I'm proposing today, with your approval, to get all the approvals to leave a tent up on the beach.
Because you're saying that this isn't sufficient shade, these 2 buildings that are currently there?
I mean, they're shade-wise, there is no shade on the beach other than on our beach deck under the umbrellas. And I would like the tent just, 1 for shade for the general public, 2, for if we're doing these sunset beach dinners now, it's nice to be able to put the food under there where people can walk through and access the food, and they don't have to walk through everybody sitting in the sand. So the extra spaces, like I said, if you look at the pictures that are up on your screen now, these are from yesterday. Oop, not the tent, sorry.
the measurements, because I think that we were talking about measurements. The original proposal was 96 by 52. The current space is smaller than that, 76 by 62. So the original proposal that was approved was 96 by 52. What he's proposing now, with both the deck and the tent, is the same 96, but 96 by 80. So there is no more encroaching towards the water. There is an additional width that is being proposed of about 30 feet.
Gary, I think that the yellow fence is an additional incursion towards the water. I don't see that represented on our original picture that we approved whenever it was 2 years ago. There was what appeared to be a certain number of tables, and those appear to be the same number of tables that are on the deck now. But the yellow fenced area looks to me, and I'm happy to be corrected, like a sand extension to the area that we never approved and that I have concerns about. I think that we should have a wide open beach, frankly.
Yeah. I too have concerns, and I went back, I watched the April 16th meeting, and I realized why I do recall this, but I realized I wasn't at that meeting. These drawings don't look like what I remember. I also went back to find the minutes from 2019 or the agenda, and the only thing that's available is the actual videos. So I didn't watch all of the surrounding videos, but I did watch the one where we approve it. And back then, our primary concerns were security, the additional policing burden. And it sounds like there have been no issues. I know that I'm sure that it's very popular. I'm so glad that the restaurant is doing so well. We were concerned about neighbor noise. One of the things that was promised to us at last call would be 1 hour before the beach closes, that there would be a dedicated manager to this space, a licensed security guard. So I think, as we talked about this back then, the primary concern was security. I would love to hear an update on obviously there have been no issues, but do you have those people in place? And
Yes.
I don't like the idea of the sunset dinners in the tent. To me, that just, but I guess what I feel now is that there's, yes, like Josh has indicated, Mayor Cohen, it just feels like a total takeover of the beach. And something about it really bothers me. So I'd love to figure out how you can succeed and how we can get comfortable, but the drawings don't seem to be representing what's actually on the beach. We never heard about the tent. The tent has already been up. Now it's down. Now it wants to go back up. I just want to know, I want you to tell us straight, what are the actual dimensions? I can't find the original proposal because, like I said, I can't find the online original meeting agenda and minutes. So I don't, these figures are getting thrown around, but
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, and when you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at drawings, I totally understand why you feel like it could be a takeover of the beach. So the only thing I could say about that is I just highly recommend you come down and just walk it and take a look at it, and I guarantee you'll feel 1,000 times better about it. As far as everything you just said before about dedicated manager, we have security, we have every single day down there. The fenced in area is our perimeter, which, how we keep everybody out. We don't let anybody in with any outside food or drinks into our area so we could monitor it. We have not had any issues right now. Up until this point. And to be frankly honest with you, it's not like the beach deck is always busy. It's, for the most part, it's always dead unless there's an event or something going on down there. It's always quiet. People come in and they eat, and then they generally go back to where they're sitting on the beach. There's not very many people that come in and hang out there for the day. So we can operate the way we're operating now and get by. It's just with the space in front is very concerning. Like I said, there's not really enough room for clearance to walk through. the Sunset Beach dinners, the only reason why we came up with the Sunset Beach dinners is because we have the fireworks every Friday night over there, and the park does allow people to sit on the beach and watch the fireworks, and so we keep our security on, and we simply put out a buffet there for anybody on the beach to come in, eat off the buffet, and go back to their blankets and sit in the sand. We encourage them to come eat and actually leave our area and go sit on the sand to keep our area free from space, and it helps with the overflow for the restaurant.
I
Say
just
something.
want to say, oh,
Let me say something first, Linz. In fact, why don't you go first? I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. Lindsay, go ahead.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I was under the weather this morning, actually all day today. And one of the reasons why I decided to attend this meeting, why it was so important, is to kind of support Farley Beach House and everything you guys are doing. I have to say, and I do agree with the suggestion of going there. The last time I was there was actually Father's Day, and you guys had the Michael Ferrante performance, which was excellent. And it really livened up the entire beach, not just sort of the Barley Beach House area. The general public were enjoying it and dancing nearby. There was security there. It was very safe. And there was in no way sort of stress on the outside portion of the beach because that fenced off space wasn't available. There was enough room for everyone. It was a really amazing event and great day. I think you guys do a great job. I do understand there's a delicate balance between, it is a park, it's the people's park, obviously. We have to be cognizant of that. But I think you guys have done a really great job. And, I understand when we're talking about expanding, an area of the park and, isolating it or using it for the beach house. It is of concern and it does need to be looked at, but I think you guys have done it in a really tasteful way. I think you brought a lot, not just to the deck and the outer portion of the beach house, but I think you've brought a lot to the park as a whole. And I appreciate that. And I think that this, while it is expanding, it's not encroaching too much, especially in low tide. I know that some of the pictures were taken, it seemed to be high tide. But have there been, Gary, do you know, does anyone, maybe Russ can attest to this, have there been a lot of complaints about lack of public space at the park?
I was going to ask Russ. I see he's here. Russ,
Yeah,
thank you for coming.
I'm here, and thank you for that, Lindsay. And no, to my knowledge, or nobody has come to myself or the senior staff and complained that there's not enough room for anything. So, and I don't really want to take sides here because I don't think it's my place. But I think what the Farley Beach House has been doing has been just really, like, overwhelmingly warmly received by the patrons on the beach.
Yeah, no, I hope that I'm not coming across when you say take sides as being in opposition to this at all. I'm just wondering, some of the pictures, and I will go down there. The last time I was there, there was the yellow fence wasn't out as far as it looks to be in some of the pictures. So
I really support. I really take Lindsay's suggestion to heart. Is that because the pictures, the angles that they're taking, the time of day, the tide levels and stuff, that it's really, I don't think it's, I don't think you can properly assess the impact it has on space on the beach. I think you really have to see it for yourself before you in order to make a judgment.
Unfortunately, I think the impact it has on general beach space has a lot to do with tide and seasons and everything else. So there's no set or finite.
Well, I understand all that, but I have been there, and I am looking at the last two pictures that Gary sent, and I'm just seeing a lot of sand here being eaten up by the yellow fence. And I don't understand that. And if I were asked to vote tonight, I would vote in the negative for any expansion. In fact, I would vote for the yellow fence to be pulled in, because I think that we didn't approve anything previously with a gap of sand enclosed by a fence. So,
Obviously, Josh, I hate to interrupt, but obviously we approved something with the idea that there would be a fence because we have to keep people
yeah, but
in
the
the area.
fence didn't need to be what looks to be 20 feet from the edge of the deck.
Also, with the fence too, I think the pictures that you're looking at, the deck's not, the chairs and stuff aren't really set up, so it looks like a whole lot of empty space. We do set up our Adirondack chairs and stack them every day. So throughout the course of the day, it's filled with chairs and stuff. And again, we do allow the general public to come in and use it, so it's not really empty space. I mean, I was there today, and I don't think anybody was even 20 feet near our fence.
I understand what you're saying. As Lindsay said, it's the people's beach. If you put a fence around it, it becomes something else. I don't know what beachgoers, each and every beachgoer thinks about their right of access, or how comfortable they are enjoying your Adirondack chairs without being your customers, which I assume is what you're saying they can do. Certainly the fence doesn't give that feeling.
Are you suggesting we just take the fence down?
Move the fence in by the deck.
Yeah, but
I think
that,
I think a fence is needed to control the alcoholic beverage use.
Yeah, the fence is, like I said, it's 65 feet off from the back wall, which is about 15 feet from our deck. I don't think we could move it in any closer because there's just not any clearance when people are sitting in the sand to walk through them. That's my only concern, is that people are going to be walking over each other, and there's not going to be.
I think,
And I don't think we ever approved people sitting on the sand. I don't think, go back to the original picture, I don't think that's what we approved.
This illustration was part of the discussion in April 2019 when the commission voted. The illustration that's currently up on the display.
You know what? I think this plan was approved in 2019.
Yes, April 2019.
Okay. Because for some reason I recall, I feel like I filled in during that meeting.
I think you were there.
I do recall this discussion, and I know that this, public access to the beach was sort of part of the conversation as well. And if I recall correctly, and again, this is pre-COVID days, so I don't know, that's back quite some time. I think it was kind of a, let's see how this works and move forward from there. I think it's been working pretty well so far.
let me just refresh. I know that memories may fade, but I believe that Benny Salinitro and Julie Souza were at that meeting.
Right.
And, they were in favor of it. But that doesn't mean that things can't change. The question is, what is going to be approved? I would suggest, along with what Lindsay had said, that we may consider making a field trip and looking at it, because I don't think the pictures really do it justice. The distance, between the fence and the deck, And even if you don't have a deck, I mean, you need a place for people to sit. It was always envisioned that people would sit. They're not going to just stand around with drinks or snacks, for that matter. So I would like to schedule a brief trip with, down to the beach to look and see what they have now and what is being proposed, and maybe lay out lines and see exactly what it is. My own personal view, I mean, I was there July 4th, which was a very busy time, and everybody was having a wonderful time at the beach and in that area. And it was very well organized, and I don't remember who said it, but the music that was provided was terrific. I loved it because they're playing my old style music, 60s and 70s rock and stuff like that. So, I think that, if there's I don't want to force a vote on something where people might vote against it and then, we go on. I'd like to get a unanimous verdict from us. And right now, Josh is not in favor. And I think that we should go down there and look at it. Louis, you had something?
Yes, Gary, thank you. Just want to let it be clear. So right now they have is space 76 by 62 at the present time, correct? And I apologize, probably I just got in as a mayor, I missed the meeting original. So they are adding 96 by, the proposal 96 by 80, correct? To the end,
Lost,
this is what I see in the second picture, 96 by 80.
right, correct.
Fine.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to waste gentlemen time here. I know summer is pretty short season also. Let's think about it. I mean, we all know this particular area. I mean, we're going to waste this gentleman's time going down there and look at it. I'm ready to vote. I mean, if it's safe, it doesn't have any complaints, it's bring business to the beach, it's been quiet. I mean, to me, it's doing the right way. But like I said, I will not waste this gentleman's time. And I think the board is either way, either direction. I will suggest just to vote on. Just this is my opinion. And like I said, we all know this place. Thank you.
I still don't have clarity on measurements and where the actual fence lies in respect to, the measurements. So Gary, you said the original request was 96 by 62, that right now they're at 96 by 52.
Right now, we're at 76 by
I'm sorry,
60, by 62 out towards the water.
So that's from the consent, from the wall to the end of the fence.
Correct. So we took off 20 feet to the right because it didn't make sense for us to use it in that concession area where I was saying before people had to walk in to get food. That's where the 76 is now. And then I came out an extra 10 feet off the wall just because with the beach deck in place where it is, there's not enough clearance to clearly walk through the sand when people are sitting there. So that's the only reason why I got bumped out an extra 10 feet.
Listen, I guess I don't mind if you feel like you need to go bigger. My problem is exactly what you're asking for, which is to go closer to the shoreline.
The shoreline, I know the water moves and everything, but I measured it today. It's 100 from the fence where it sits today down to the water is like 110 feet.
At low tide?
Whatever, I measured at 4:00 today. I don't know what tide it was.
Medium tide.
So, and again, I don't, the 90 by 80, that would be, the 96 by 80, that would be pending the approvals for the tent with the building department, the fire department, all that other stuff. I don't want the extra space or need the extra space unless we're gonna be putting the tent up there. I would like maybe an extra 10 feet in front so people can safely walk around. I can fence it off from the corner of my beach deck and still be at 76, maybe 70, call it 75 by 75, where people, can walk around a little bit more freely in the front. And I can assure you that we have not gotten any complaints from anybody on the beach, and, we've had nothing but positive feedback from everybody that's been coming there and entering our beach deck area and utilizing it. And it's there for everybody. It's not, I don't consider it our space.
Let me make a suggestion, okay? I agree with Louis to the extent that it might be appropriate to vote on. I just want to point out that the season ends September 30th. And whatever, even if we vote today on the large project, let's say we do that. We have the ability under the agreement to terminate that and to change it for next season if it doesn't work out. So may I suggest that we do that and see how it goes? It is subject to, the agreement is subject to all procedures by the federal, state, and local government, meaning the city of Rye. He has to go to the Rye Building Department or whatever process needs to be followed. And I would suggest that since you really only have 2 months or so left, that we not make him take it down, that we go forward and let him operate it as he would, and we'll see how it goes. We don't have complaints from the patrons. They seem to love it. And I don't see that there's any problem. If the Rye Building Department shuts it down, then they shut it down. But I think that as a concept, this is a good concept. And, I'd like to ask each of you to vote in favor of doing that till the end of the year.
Gary.
Pardon me?
I won't. I think the yellow fence is way out there. I don't think it's what we approved. I'm not comfortable with it.
Gary, let me interrupt you for a minute. I kind of agree more in with your comments, and absolutely, it's year by year approved. If there's any issues, we can review a following year. Like my only concern, I will repeat myself again, I don't want to waste this gentleman's time here and everybody else. Summer is very short. We got 2 months, not even that left. And maybe once the summer start going down, maybe he can start moving back a little bit also. We need to work here together.
Luis,
Yes,
why
I'm listening.
build out? Why build it out? Pull the fence in, leave it where it is, and then there can be a proposal to expand. If it's well presented, and that can be next year.
The proposal to expand is on the table now. You're suggesting that it be reduced, but there aren't any measurements, Josh. You're only saying what it looks like, but your view and what some of the pictures show are different. And
Gary, I've been there. I've been there.
I've
And
been there too.
I don't know if it was high tide or low tide, but it extends quite a distance towards the water.
Can you see
I
that picture?
certainly don't think that's what I contemplated when I approved plans. And I'm okay with the wood deck area, but I don't understand I don't understand the fenced area. I don't think that's part of what we approved. And I don't see why we would approve it now. If Barley wants to expand laterally along the wall, I think that's okay. I'm okay with the tent. But extending down towards the water, I don't think is right.
Well, he's not proposing extending down to the water, Josh.
I think the fence is an extension down beyond what we approved.
Well,
I don't believe so, because it's the original proposal that was approved was 80 feet, and what he's proposing now with the tent is 80 feet. Now, if you're saying, Josh, if your position is that the 80 feet is not 80 feet, that he's exceeded that, that's a different issue.
Can we go over this one more time? I'm sorry. So the original
was 96 by 52, 96 wide by 52 out. I
It was
put the fence in there.
52 out?
52. 52.
I thought, all right, I'll stand corrected.
And then,
Okay,
so
and now
I
we're-
extended it to 62 because with the beach deck, the way it sits, it doesn't leave, this picture that you see on the screen is where it currently sits right now. Is that when the lounge chairs are set up in the sand area, you can't clearly walk through. You can't walk through people when their chairs are there. That's why I was proposing to put it out a little bit, put it out further so we could set up the lounge chairs.
Okay, and what about, so you are proposing that you go from the 62 you're at to 80, so another 18 feet towards the water, and then you want to also go to the 96.
If we were to put the tent up and get the approvals for the tent and everything.
Can
Right
you
now,
just do-
I only feel the need to go a little further out just for, so there's room for people to sit and people could safely walk through the area. You know, I could do without I think the 52 honestly makes the area unsafe to even walk through. At that point, the whole deck should be fenced in. To pull it in over there at 52, it leaves it very narrow, and I'd feel uncomfortable with it at that distance, which is why I made it 62. If we could go maybe 10 more feet for now, 70 by 70, I think that would give us a good workable area, a good safe area that people could be in. And then with pending approvals and everything on the tent, if we could get the approvals for the tent and then put the tent on the other side, that'd be the extra 20 feet that we took off.
But closer to the
But-
10 would be close to the wall.
It'd be almost right on the wall.
So that would be in line with the position that I think I just heard Mayor Cohn describe, which is he's okay with your going further out along the wall.
Correct.
He is opposed to your,
Going further out towards the water.
correct.
Right.
Do you think that
I think
going
we could- I think we
longer is a possibility?
Yeah, yeah, we could go longer. I don't feel the need to go longer. I don't feel like that the area itself the sand area is super busy where I would want to take up that much space. I want to be realistic. If I'm going to take the space, I want it to be useful space where there's shade or people can come in, or, we're going to utilize it. I think that a couple feet forward does us and everybody in the area much better right now. It suits everybody much better operationally.
So let me correct myself. So the original proposal was 52 out.
Correct.
And he's at 62 out.
And now it's 62.
And he wants to go to 80.
Right.
I think I heard Chris say 75 by 75 would be sufficient.
Yeah, the main problem is that, when you're actually looking at the space and you're measuring the space, behind this, up against the wall in this back area, it's like 15 or 20 feet of dead space. Like, it's unusable space for us. So we pretty much lose that right off the bat. And again, I don't want to take up any more space than we need. I don't want to have to manage more space than we need. I want to manage, what we need for the people that are coming in and utilizing it. And I just think the space in front, even at 62 feet where it is now, is tight. It's uncomfortable for me to walk through there when people are sitting there to go check the garbage and stuff. It's tight for staff, employees, and anybody walking through, which is the
Why
only
can't
reason
you,
why I
like-
would propose to push the fence forward a little bit.
Why couldn't you, instead of several rows of chairs in the front, why can't you spread those out longwise? And then-
The problem is that people, when they come in, they use the area, they start moving stuff around themselves, and it's, we usually set up the chairs in a certain manner, but then when you come with a group of 4 or 5, then they tend to put the chairs closer together and stuff, and they bog up space, and it's not really something we want to, attack people for or monitor so much. We want people to come and feel free in our area to use it.
And I'm sorry to have so many questions, but this is operational anytime that you're open?
No, so we keep it open. We basically follow all the beach rules. The beach closes at 6 o'clock. We shut down concession. We shut down our beach deck and we lock it up. Only day that it's open after that hour is Friday right now, because the general public is allowed access to the beach. And we do our sunset beach dinner, so people could come in and eat and then access the beach. Other than that, unless it's a private event, which then we deal with Russ directly, that we're gonna have people on the beach, we have security, you know, there's the park people there, it's closed. We don't do regular dinner service down there.
Well, the issue right now is what we're going to approve in terms of any kind of an expansion, because we've already approved the 96 by 52. So the question is whether or not, and now it is reduced to 76 by 62. So
But it's not reduced contractually, is it?
No, he was, the original, Emily, the original proposal was 96 by 52.
Right.
He's right now at 76 by 62.
Right.
So he
So he
made
can
it
go to
narrower and longer. So the question is, at what point does the commission want to go? He would like 96 by 80. And I don't sense, I mean, personally, it's fine with me, but I don't sense that there's a majority that wants that at this point. Unless you want to go down and look at it and see what 80 feet would look at, which I don't have a problem to do. But what would be approved tonight? Emily, I mean, I think it's up to Josh and Emily to make a determination, because we only have 5 of us, and I'd like us to be unanimous if we could.
Yes, and I don't mean to belabor this. Russ, you were saying at 4 o'clock, what was it? High tide, low tide, which tide?
Medium tide.
I think it's right now, it's medium tide. I looked earlier.
If Chris measured it at 4 o'clock today, the tide was rising to a peak tide at 5 o'clock today. So it was just an hour short of high tide.
And he's saying there was 110 feet from the end of the fence to the water?
From the high tide mark, Chris?
Yes. Well, from the back wall to the water.
Back.
So then there's 30 feet. Or I guess 62 to, I'm so bad at math, 110?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I said before, I don't want to take up any more space than I feel that we need. I think that if we could just come forward just that 10 feet or so, it's really, it's everything, that fence is very close to the deck. I don't feel comfortable with it being that close to the deck. That's really my main concern with that. Like I said, the other 20 feet to the right of it, you know, I don't want to, if I have to take if I'm going to take the 96, it's useless space for me. I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to fill it up with more chairs and stuff that people aren't going to sit in or have.
I appreciate the concerns of Barley, and I want Barley to do well. But I also want a nice, unobstructed beach for people who don't necessarily want to be Barley patrons. And I am concerned that we approved something and there were changes made that didn't come back to us. And now there are changes made or changes being proposed that I don't fully understand and that I can't vote to make. I'm happy to go visit.
Yeah, I guess, you know, my only point is you're talking about how cramped something is when you have this 62 feet. Meanwhile, that leaves at high tide about 40 feet of beach where everybody seems to congregate sort of right in that central area. And without bathroom access, I mean, I'm guessing people have to go around your space to get to the middle gate to get to the bathrooms. Like, it just feels like it's really imposing in the middle of the beach. Yeah. Totally support Barley. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. It's just, yeah, something about it is really bothers me.
Yeah, I feel like when you come there and you visit it and you see it yourself, you're not going to feel that way.
We're getting back to the point where I think we need to make a visit. Okay?
Got it.
I think we need to do that because otherwise we're not going to have all of the commissioners agreeing on this, and I'd like to
We-
get some kind of an
Great.
agreement.
Yep, sorry to belabor this, but he can do the tent, right? He's got the 96. You've already got the space to do the tent.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go to the building department and everything. I'd have to get all the approvals from the city for that. So that's probably going to be down the road anyway. I don't think I'd have that up by this summer, to be honest with you, with it. So my big concern is really just for right now, the space in front. You know, and it's one of those things, if you guys want to come down and take a look at it, I could set the fence up for you at 75 or 80 feet, and you could look at it and walk around it and check out the perimeter on it. And I'm not trying to take up any extra space that I'm not trying to take up beach space to make it barley space at all. I don't want to come off like I'm trying to get more space out of this. I don't want any more space if we're not utilizing it. You know, that front area in the beach deck is where people, they could walk off the beach deck there. It's an exit off the beach deck, and it's tight over there, and people sit there. They sit in the sand. Sometimes there's kids in there playing in the sand. You know, it's just we need a little bit more room over there. That's all I really.
I might take you up on that offer. I'm going to actually be at the park tomorrow evening. But in the interest of time and in the interest of going back and forth, would it be possible, or would anyone be amenable to approving this slight expansion until next month's meeting, just to see how it plays out, to see if there is any feedback or negative feedback from the public? Would that be something that,
Which expansion are you
I
talking
didn't hear your
about?
whole proposal, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
would we be willing to accommodate the Barley Beach House just for the month to sort of on a trial basis to see how it works out, and then revisit it next month?
No, I would not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, we're not going to get an approval tonight. Chris, thank you for coming. We'll revisit this. I would suggest that we make a field visit. Emily, I think you and Lindsay and I, Josh, we'll arrange a time. Maybe what about Saturday? How is everybody Saturday looking?
Gary, it's my daughter's birthday Saturday, so
Are you having a party there?
at my house.
Oh, you're not at the beach?
No, not at the beach.
Well,
Too far for all the friends.
we'll try to arrange another time. Okay? Thank you, Chris.
So is it the feeling of the commission that nothing changes until that field trip?
Right.
And- Okay.
Okay, authorizing a submission of a New York State Consolidated funding application. Debbie earlier sent out a memo as to what we're applying for. We have the local government waterfront revitalization program for the beach level restrooms, historic preservation grant for the bathhouse exterior, which was reduced from the last time we applied, and the historic preservation grant for the bathhouse shower retaining wall, that is falling down. Do we have any comments on this before we move on it? Josh?
Yes, Gary, thank you. I've canvassed the Rise City Council informally, and people are for these projects. We would be approving them, of course, subject to ultimate budgetary approval, should we get the grants and should we accept the grants, to ultimate budgetary approval in the years in which the money would be spent. But we're happy now to vote in favor of these. I do want to remark on the FEMA grants that were applied for and that are referred to in the next agenda item. Those grant applications were made without the prior consent of the City of Rye. And I think there is the expectation that if we get the grants, we would be expected to do our share. Those grants are for a relatively small amount, and I feel comfortable saying we would do our share. But if we want to have cordial grant discussions in the future, then I would ask the Park Commission, Gary, to please come to us in advance so that I can take things to our city council as is appropriate. Thanks.
Not a problem, Josh. I think actually we did discuss this before we went forward on it. And I think the FEMA is a 90-10, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct, Debbie?
It is 90-10, and the Department of Homeland Security has indicated they would cover the 10.
Right, so there may be no budgetary implication at all,
That would be fabulous.
right? Okay, so resolution authorizing the submission of the CFA applications. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Debbie, call the roll, please.
Yes. Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Marino?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. And Josh alluded to the next application, which is to engage AI engineers, i.e. Dolph Rotfeld, as our consulting engineer, and also for two specific projects, again alluded to by Josh, for grants, which we will only do if we get the grant to do so. There's been some email exchange on this. Josh, do you have anything else before we go forward? Or may we go forward?
My point here is, I'm not sure what it is we're doing. I'm not sure why we're entering into an agreement, a general sort of agreement with an engineering firm when we don't actually have engineering tasks at hand. We don't know if we'll get the FEMA grants. If we get the FEMA grants, we'll of course need engineers. If we have issues in the park that need an engineer, then we can go out and hire an engineer after the commission hears about the issue and agrees that an engineer is required.
Well,
So I don't really understand what this contract is for. I'm not sure that we're obliging ourselves to anything. And I don't think we should be obliging ourselves to anything.
well, we're not engaging and paying money for things that we're, looking for and spending money not knowingly. Right now, Debbie has a bi-weekly meeting with FEMA, and James Natarelli of the engineering firm is on those. And Debbie, how much money are we looking for? We're looking for money from IDA, and as I sent you in the email this afternoon, we have the requirement for an engineer to explain these things, and to confirm that what we're doing is correct in both the emergency request and also the mitigation. So it is necessary to do that from time to time. We've been operating on their prior contract that it's probably 4 or 5 years old. So it's time we do have a contract with them, but it's time to renew it.
I would say that, and just from my perspective, I would feel a lot more comfortable given the age of the building and the structures around it. We've had the issue with the wall, we have the bath tunnels. There are so many things that, we could use an engineer's perspective on as time goes on in certain emergency situations that I would feel more comfortable having them on call. Again, we're dealing with a terribly old building, and lots of things that can go wrong with the entire facility. And I think we need to keep that in mind too as we start discussing this. What have we used them for in the past? I know the wall was an issue recently, whether or not it was safe to park there, to shore up the parking spots along the wall. I think those are simple things, day to day or kind of operational based questions that, when you pick up the phone on an on-call basis, is a lot easier than having to go out, get an engineer and have them respond to the issue.
So, Josh, we don't have an engineer on staff. You have an engineer in the city of Rye on salary. You can ask them questions anytime. You can go out and you can have Ryan go out and look at anything you want. And, just think if you didn't have an engineer on staff and every time something came up in the city, in the highway or the sewer or anything else, and you had to hire somebody, you couldn't get it done right away. So, that's why we need it. And we're not spending money unless we actually use the service. We're not looking to do it.
Right, and I am concerned about when we spend money and keeping commission oversight of that.
Well, we are, if we have a specific project, we are. But, as I say, Debbie's on the phone with Homeland Security and with FEMA constantly on different projects that we have. And sometimes you need an engineer on the phone to explain things. So, go ahead, Louis.
Yes, I believe in this. We need it. I'm big supporter. It's a lot of work to do. I know they're going to apply for money will be coming in, I hope. We'll just find out a number. What is the cost? Is a top limit how much we can spend if we hire engineer or just open basin by hour? What's the fee?
The general thing is by fee.
Right.
Each employee has a different rate. In other words, the senior partner is like $205 an hour, and down the line as to who is doing the work.
The proposal includes for projects that the engineer creates,
Right.
design work, in other words. There's a specific formula within the proposal. Given the cost of the project, there's a corresponding percentage that is permissible up. That's the limit of what can be spent designing that project. That's in the proposal.
In the proposal.
Yes.
All right. We'd like to move forward. It's something we need. It's not like it's going to be, we need it because of pleasure. Something needs to get done. Things got to get moving. I'm ready to go. Thank you.
Make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to move forward.
I'm sorry, I'm not ready to vote on it yet. I have a question. So I don't get this. I noticed that there's two parts to this, and maybe we're splitting it up into two different votes. But here we are talking about keeping him on sort of a retainer for general projects that come up. And then there's also 2 specific projects in here, one of which I thought that the Friends were working on. So I'm just confused. Are we just trying to retain him on a general matter with fees as described, or are we hiring him to do these 2 projects?
We're hiring him to do 2 projects if we get the grant for the project. If we don't get the
So what-
grant, he doesn't do the project.
So can we strike that, be it further resolved until we see if we get the grant or not, and just keep him on retainer? Which is, I think, sort of understanding that,
I agree.
We-
Sounds good too.
Not a problem,
Yes.
not a problem.
and just to be totally clear, because I did read through it, but I wasn't sure. There's no cost to just having him on retainer. He just guarantees the fee schedule A.
Right,
It's a motion in the table, in the floor.
all right. You want to second it as amended?
Sure.
Thank you. Debbie, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
My computer froze. I don't know what the motion is.
Sorry, to restate it, it sounds like we struck the 2 projects that were included in the resolution, and we're just resolving to engage his firm to provide general engineering consulting services without reference to specific tasks.
So we don't pay unless we use.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
I will vote yes, but I remain concerned about how the commission supervises use, how we understand how we're using this facility. I'd like to figure out how to do that.
Is there a dollar figure that we need to vote on if he, is doing a project that's more than a certain amount or something?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, Debbie, I guess your computer froze. Debbie, would you repeat what you told Louis? In
yeah,
answer to his
that
question?
the proposal, the proposal includes a very specific formula for calculating payment for projects based on the cost of the project. There's a set percentage for the design fee for that project. It's a industry standard,
Right.
is what I told Louis.
I think the question is more, Debbie, what oversight does the commission have with respect to the Brightown Park staff authorizing projects?
Well, the commission has full authority over the staff. It depends on the project. For example, talking to FEMA, I mean, do the commissioners want to be on those calls if the engineer has to be on those calls? We're not doing any specific projects right now that call for the engineer, other than, as far as I know, the FEMA and Homeland Security issues dealing with Hurricane Ida, or Superstorm Ida, whatever it was called, which we're constantly working on and hopefully will be done soon. I'm sure that the city of Rye is also having its issues getting money from FEMA and Homeland Security, and the village of Portchester as well. And there have to be engineers on those calls.
Can we authorize this subject to a not to exceed without coming back to the commission?
Right.
I don't know what number you would want to put in there.
$10,000.
That's what I was going to say.
Don't exceed $10,000. If you have issues, they can come in front of us.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with that, Debbie?
I do not.
All right.
Not to exceed $10,000 without prior, is that per year, per,
No, it's
On an ongoing
Per,
basis.
per project.
just whatever reaches $10,000.
per project,
Right.
without
It's
prior?
10,000 cumulative, Debbie. 10,000 cumulative, and then back to the commission.
Right.
Per project, or just cumulative,
Just
forget the
cumulative,
project,
general.
without prior,
Cumulative. The-
Put it after, according to the Schedule A here too, comma, not to exceed $10,000 without further approval of the Rye-Town Park Commission. How's that sound?
Good.
Is that okay, Josh?
I don't know, because frankly, I don't know what the schedule says. But
just lists
again,
it.
I'm looking at it on a cumulative basis. I'm concerned that the schedule is probably per job. And
well, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mayor. The schedule is based on an hourly rate per individual, depending upon their title. So a principal would bill at $205 per hour. A project manager will bill at $165 per hour. A project engineer will bill at $145 an hour, and an associate engineer will bill at $110. The proposal that was sent to you has many more levels, but they go down from there.
okay, so it's not a question of different rates for different projects.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, Gary, your resolution sounds fine.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
Debbie, call the roll, please.
Just a moment, if I just may. Okay, so the motion was Louis Marino, second was Emily Hurd, correct?
Right.
Correct.
All right. Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes,
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. Management report. Does anybody want to review this?
I actually apologize, but I have to drop off.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. We have one more
Thank you.
resolution. Are you okay with the memo from the staff regarding the policy change on the beach hours?
I think I would like to follow the staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll vote on it. Do you want to stay on for 2 minutes? We'll vote on that first.
If you need me, I'll stay on for 2 minutes.
Make a motion to move on and vote on.
Okay,
Discussion.
we're going to move on to
It's a recommendation from the staff.
item 4.6, the resolution to limit beach entry from 6 to 8 p.m. to town and city residents and permit holders. And that's every day, correct?
Every day.
Right, and the reason is that we don't charge for parking at 6 o'clock, and so people jam the beach, and they don't clear the beach, they don't.
Correction, we do charge for parking, we do not
We don't
charge for beach admission.
admission.
beach.
So
Yes.
people want to go on the beach and don't want to leave the beach. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve that resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Debbie, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes,
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. The,
Thank you.
thank you, Josh. Good night. The management report is attached. Russ, you want to make a comment on the July 4th weekend for the record?
No, I think that the report speaks for itself. The only thing I want to say is I just want to thank the commission for granting our request to limit beach access and park access to residents and permit holders for the entire weekend. I think it really saved us. As it was on Monday, July 4th, we had a couple of thousand people on the beach, and we're pretty much maxed out on parking. So I think if we had not, I think the residents and the permit holders, the residents of the 4 communities and the permit holders would have been, I think their experience would have been really severely compromised. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you, and thank the staff for us.
Yeah, Russ, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge what an incredible job you're doing. The 4th of July went off without a hitch. It could have been really disastrous. I was driving in from the city. I think it was the weekend before, it must have been Saturday of 4th of July weekend. And I saw the sign on the highway, and I was like, wow, these guys are really getting it done. So, I mean, from every little detail, you made it a huge success. So thank you so much to you and your team.
It was a real team effort, and with particularly with Debbie's support and the support of the entire commission, it turned out to be just a great weekend for everybody, and most importantly, it was safe, because I think the concerns now nationwide are, you just never know what's going to happen, but I don't want it to happen here. So.
Yeah. And just to follow up on the motion or the resolution we just passed, I'm sorry about some of the situations. It seems like it's escalating as the park reaches capacity on those beautiful days, and you guys are really dealing with it. What can the commission do to support you with, it sounds like out of all the departments, Vic is having the hardest time recruiting. What can we do to help there?
Well, Emily, what we've done for July 4th, we actually hired extra security.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it says in the memo that security and waterfront have done a great job with recruitment, right?
Yeah, but the security, our park rangers here have done a great job. Mike has done a great job of recruiting. Mark and his team did a great job of recruiting a whole new bunch of lifeguards. Look, so far so good. I would just ask that, if we think we're going to need some additional outside security help, I would hope that it would be quickly and easily approved. So, but
Sure.
we just don't know right now. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that the crowds will remain manageable, and that people that don't have these eligibility, are not eligible to come on certain days, will understand, and they won't escalate it, and we won't have to. So far we haven't had to call the riot police. So let's hope it stays that way.
Well, yeah. Just on behalf of the city of Ryan, Commissioner Copey, I know he is monitoring the situation. I think he's in regular contact, and if you need us to help get him to do whatever you need, my sense is he's willing and able.
Yeah,
but
no, they've been very, very, very cooperative.
Very, very responsive.
Yes, very responsive, very cooperative, and we thank them.
Let me point out.
We really thank them for that.
Let me point out something else, Emily. You mentioned the signs. That was due to the county. They were very cooperative in getting the word out and publicizing our limitations for that weekend. And we have a municipal leaders conference call every other week, and I thanked the county at that time on our last conference call, and they were very appreciative.
I'd like to add to that,
Well-
Gary, the different organizations have control of different signs.
Right.
So Commissioner Copey, with his knowledge of the New York State law enforcement, connected us through to New York State, which controls the major highways. When you saw that announcement on the Hutchison River Parkway, when you saw the announcement on 95, that was New York State.
Ah, I didn't get a chance to thank them. I did thank the county, though. Well, thank you.
While we're thanking people, I just want to thank Mayor Marino and the Village of Portchester for granting our request to use the showmobile for upcoming concerts. The first one is next week, so thank you,
That's great.
Village of Portchester.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
I think I just wanted to point out the financial statement in the management report, which I was very happy to see. I know periodically some of the commissioners ask about it. We are running right now through June 30th. Our revenue is $168,624 over budget.
How much over projection?
168,000 plus,
168?
168.
Wow.
Our budget had 709, and our actual was 878. I don't know if that's going to continue, but that's good news.
It is.
One last measure, we have an item on the Westchester Triathlon. There's a request attached. Russ is very familiar with this. We're not going to take action on it tonight, but they've made the request, and Russ, I spoke to Eric Updike today about it, and I told him that if he wants to get anything done, he's got to be on the stick with Jason and contact you. And you're not going to chase him. I told him that. And if they want to get anything done with Playland, they need to set up a meeting. So we may want to coordinate that with them.
I spoke with Eric late this afternoon.
Oh, good.
He called, and we came up with a tentative plan that even if they can't use Playlands Beach, we'll figure out how to reconfigure the swim segment just on our beach. And also, they're anticipating that the overall size of the event is going to be a little less than half of what it normally is.
Yeah, I figured.
Total of about 500 athletes. And then they could easily use the Playland parking lot, the pool parking lot, both transition and registration and everything else they need. So there would be no conflict in the park with the Westchester Wine Walk on Saturday.
Yeah, I would worry about the transition from the beach to the parking lot.
Yeah, we've got some ideas on that too.
All right. I mean, if we need to be in contact with Playland and tell them they have to fix stuff, then we will. I'll make a personal call if I need to.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said, Gary.
I said that if we need to contact the managers of Playland because work needs to be done, then I would be happy to make that call if needed.
Okay.
You have to let me know. Okay? All right. With that, we have to, Debbie, is there any public, members of the public who are on who wish to speak?
I lost the thread, but there have been none so far up until several minutes ago.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Ready?
Yes. Uh-huh. Thank you. Goodbye. Talk to you later.